a server on fire, cartel market notes, and story breakdown for Onslaught. That's right, we're finally going to get into a spoiler discussion of the story for Onslaught. These topics and more are coming up on this episode of the Escape podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 316. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Hey, Max. It's going really well. I've been, as you have been, I'm sure, when you had a chance working on gearing up and also it's getting really into conquest the last couple of weeks. But first, let me say we had our mandatory fun night this week. And we were going to do KP, but we didn't have enough people in the beginning of the evening. So we started off with rampages and we ended up doing the world boss on Belsavis to finish up the night. So that was a fun night running around and dying, laughing, crying, and then killing a world boss. Then this tonight was our ops night, and we did go and do Karagas Palace for many, many conquest points. And then after that, we went and took a peek at the first boss in Duxon, who's called Red.
Mm-hmm.
And she is red, and there was red things happening, like.
And she's a clever girl.
She's a clever girl. But yeah, we're gonna go back there next week, probably start of the evening, and maybe get a more concentrated effort on her. But it was fun to see that and the trash leading up to her. But other than that, I spent way too much time equipping and unequipping gear, especially on Tuesday when I was logging in my characters that made conquest target last week. I don't think I'm going to do that next week. I mean, I know, I know you get better gear if you open up the crate when you have the best gear on that you can have, but I don't think it was worth it. By the time I finish, I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't lose any gear doing that. Just by misplacing it or whatever. I don't think I did though,
Right.
because I had a plan and I stuck to it.
It is. It's
Um,
complicated.
it is and I was taking out mods and putting in as I got
Mm-hmm.
better mods, but luckily I only have the only moddable gear I have right now are my weapons, so it was only two items I had to do that on. That'll change as time goes forward and we get, if I get once I get up to 306, I'll start getting, I'm sure, moddable stuff and playing with mods and min-maxing that way, as well as min-maxing the set bonuses and the tacticals. Oh, I got a really cool tactical running Master Mode Flashpoint, which was another way we've been, leaping up the gearing ladder, so to speak. But it's one that allows me to cast or use the ability rapid scan while moving, which is not my longest prep time ability, but it does have a cast time, and I do use it quite a bit because it's part of energy management as well as healing. So that's really cool. So I can run during the channeled one. I can run during that one. Of course, you can run during instant ones. It's pretty. It's pretty cool. That's going to be a hard tactical to give up. I mean, theory crafters are going to have to make a really good case for something else because I love stuff like that allow you to run in situations where you used to not be able to.
Right.
Hard to give up.
Right. And that's the point of the tacticals. They're supposed to be a little bit of a game changer and change the way you play your class. And if it's a significant ability like that, and now you can be more mobile. Okay, well that's interesting. That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, I liked it. Um, it's for sale on the tactical vendor on the fleet, which I did not realize. I'm glad I got it though through a drop in a flashpoint because then I didn't have to pay for it.
Right.
Um, yeah, so gearing up, Mastermind Flashpoints, MFN, Conquest. For Conquest, I did a lot of crafting last week. A lot for me anyway. This week is not a crafting week, so it's just I'm, just playing the game and accumulating the points that way. Um, and that's pretty much my SWTOR news for this week. How about you, Max?
I was relatively light. I feel like I lost some Star Wars time. Although I did play Star Wars, I was on the road. I did 4 flights in 5 days. I flew I had to fly to Orlando for a conference for a week, and in the middle of the conference, I had to fly to Houston for another thing I had to do for another presentation I had to give in Houston, and then fly back to Orlando for the rest of the conference, and then fly back home today.
I mean, who sets these things up? That's very bad
Me,
planning.
me, that's who sets it up. So
Oh,
go me.
sorry.
Well,
Excellent planning.
it's it's a complicated thing. So I said I probably could have tried to not do it, but I thought it would be interesting to do it all. I'm gonna just do it all. Anyway, the only times it really played, things were busy with dinner, client dinners and things at night. I did play on the airplane both ways, to and from Orlando. Uh, on the way down on the airplane on Sunday, I went through, which I had forgotten to do. I went through my spreadsheet and found all of the old characters where I still had like collections of materials, and moved all of the, the low grade crew mission materials and low grade, spare color crystals and stuff like that. I moved all of those into the legacy crafting storage, which was good because there were some things that I had sort of lost and couldn't. I knew they were somewhere and I didn't have them in the legacy storage. So last week when I was trying to make universal prefabs and, for example, you need some of those lower grade materials to make some of that stuff. Now it's nice to have it all collected up.
Yeah, it is nice to have. And it's really nice when you're running crew missions to not even have to worry about them going into your bag and remembering to put them in storage.
Yeah,
I really love that.
it's great.
Although I have a PSA for that
Oh, yeah?
crafty storage, and that is encryptions and stuff go in there. Encryptions go in there. So if you hit the button to
Oh,
put everything in there, so it's worth looking in your crafting storage to see if there's any. The way I found out is I saw one go, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then I looked, and there were like 5 in there. I'm like,
interesting.
okay,
That's a
this
good
has happened
PSA.
before.
The other thing I'm gonna do that we mentioned is I'm gonna set my the auto quality move of materials back down to standard for a little while. What I'd prefer to do is I want to see the stuff. I want to see the stuff go into my inventory. I want to see what materials I'm getting. Well, I think I do, because it's just a one click to clear it out of the inventory again when you're done. I'm tired of picking up, like, gathering stuff off of gathering nodes, which I do quite often, and not even knowing what I'm getting off of what nodes and what ratio, especially what ratio of green to blue to purple, which is important because it's 9 to 1 the amount of green to purples that you need to craft stuff. And if I'm not getting 9 to 1 off of each gathering mode of greens to purples, I'd like to know that, because what's going to happen, and this is what we seem to be
Have
seeing
they
from a
fixed
market
that?
perspective. I don't know off the gathering nodes. Definitely, you can get out of whack on the missions themselves. Like if you're running a scavenging mission, scavenging crew mission, because if you're running the rich scavenging crew missions, you're getting more purple and blue than you're getting green, and
Right,
you'll get way out
right.
of whack. So, uh, but I did that, and then
The crew missions, I can see that helping, but the gathering nodes, unless they fix that, it won't make a difference
because they don't go in your inventory,
because they don't go in your inventory, right?
then
And they don't pop up a window.
they certainly don't pop up a window. But I thought you could make them go in your inventory, but maybe not, and then then that won't help. But that's what I was hoping.
Because it defaulted to green. I had mine all to green in the beginning. I still didn't see stuff coming from nodes. But
Hmm.
anyway, worth a try to test it out.
Also, over the weekend, I was running Master Mode Flashpoints. Master Mode Flashpoints are really good in terms of getting gear. When you start moving to that
Yeah.
little bit more difficult content, you'll get a wider range of gear score. We ran Story Mode Karaga's Palace tonight, for example. I started at item rating 288. We got a whole bunch of gear dropping all over the place. I ended the evening at 288. I think I'm another one of those breakpoints. If I push everything to
Maybe, yeah.
290, I'll start getting 292 and 294. But now I'm just getting 288, 286, 284, 290 pieces. I did upgrade a couple of mods. My barrel's up to 290 now on my main hand and off hand, which is nice. but it's not pushing me over the top, and I'm not getting anything over 290.
So what are you going to do to push it over?
Either run master mode flashpoints or go to these 286 pieces like my head and my wrist and buy the random from the random gear vendor, the 175 tech fragment item off of them.
Mm.
The problem is I'm only up to, because I wasn't playing much this week, I'm only up to 2200 tech fragments, and Kai Zyken's coming tomorrow. And Kai Zyken could have some really cool stuff, and I could, there could be 4,500 tech fragments worth of stuff that I want to buy off of Kai Zyken, which is not out of the question.
But you'll be able to get, you'll be able to.
Right. I'll just have to run
this weekend.
I'll just have to run content, which is fine.
I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking too, is sort of like, which crew skills should I make sure that character is level 75 and the skills at a 700 so that I can buy whatever the schematics are that he's selling. And then I thought, well, I'll just wait and find out what they are and then do it because I can do it on the weekend.
Right. And the chat room is, of course, asking me to read my stats. I don't know if you I don't know if you noticed. I did hover over each of my gear pieces so you could see it while Sima was talking. I didn't read it out loud. I'm saving that for Stat Talk. That's our other podcast, Stat Talk, where we just talk about stats on all of our gear. Stat Talk. No, I will save that. Yeah, I'll save that for Stat Talk.
Oh, Wag says he's open tonight, so he comes on Thursday. Okay.
All right. Already?
I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Kai Zyken being a little saucy, opening the doors early. We'll have to go see Kai Zyken. But until we do,
well, he is mysterious.
We'll go. He is a mysterious, elusive vendor. But we can hear about the news until then.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So apparently the Tulak Horde server caught fire. That's how I imagine it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, those guys must have had. That was a rough week.
I just glanced and scanned through it. You wrote up a nice note here on it. There were like 12 updates in the dev tracker about Tulak Horde. Now it's down. Yeah. I don't know. We're gonna reboot it. We're trying to fix it. Blah blah blah. Ultimately led to a maintenance downtime for all 3 European servers. Yeah, that was a bad. That's a bad crash when you start taking down servers that are nearby because you crash so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's frustrating too if you're the player because you don't know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want your server to be up. I would be frustrated. But
I've been through it in every game, right? Where whether it's you don't know if it's your network not working or the servers are down, and you start. Now, thank God we have Discord now because you can right away find out. Yeah, it's everybody.
Right. Cartel market news. What was that?
Yeah. Another thing in the news was there was the Lana Benico armor set that was sold in the flash sale. Has some kind of malfunction where you can't unlock it for other characters, and I don't know why. It's just the one. It just apparently seems to be just the one that if you bought it during the flash sale.
Just during the flash
that's
sale.
Amazing. Yes, that's
I see.
Amazing to me. But anyway, they are looking at it. They're going to fix it. It's not going to be a hot fix. It's not going to be in the next update, which is coming next week. But it should be in the update after that. So in the meantime, if you bought it, you just won't be able to unlock it for the rest of your characters. But it will be fixed, just not.
And now is it gone?
Today and
I don't see
tomorrow.
her armor in the cartel market at all anymore. Interesting.
That would be smart if they took it off, but it might have just randomed out too.
Limited time offer. Get it while supplies last. We're going to run out of bits. We only bought 2 barrels of bits. All right. Gonna fill up the bit, pour some more bits in the bit tank. Cartel coins not issuing. So one other sort of cartel related issue. There was a problem. I think it was a short-term problem. It was a small window last Friday morning where cartel coins didn't get issued. If you believe that you were affected by this, you should talk to customer support. And they should all be it should all be working normally now.
Yeah, they believe it's working now. If you've bought any cartel coins recently and didn't receive them, you should contact customer support.
Got it. I think things look okay for me, but I don't buy cartel coins, so I did not notice it. In community news, Friday, November 15th, there will be our monthly guild, Epic Guild activity sponsored by Marcus, one of our officers, who's also one of the podcasters with Nick on Working Class Nerds podcast. We're going to do one of our monthly activities. It'll be on Friday. Marcus, he worked for hours and hours to come up with a plan for Friday, from what I heard when Seema talked to him. And I think the plan was, let's do Onslaught stuff. Sounds good to me. Well
Yes,
done.
it does.
Marcus and Nick also had an awesome interview with the voice actor, Holly, I think we talked about it, who does the voice of Nadia. And Marcus sent this over to me this afternoon. Take a listen to this.
Let me think. Shut up, Max. Shut up, Max.
Shut up, Nadia.
The second one sounds a little more convincing.
I think I'm gonna just take that second one and I'll have that one cut out and on a hotkey so that I can play it every time.
Thanks for trusting me.
Shut up, Nadia.
Max.
Shut up,
I tried to
Max.
fast forward.
Yeah.
Shut up, Max.
There we go. I'll get that all worked out. And
Such a good sport.
Really appreciate that. I mean, does that really work? Yeah. Somebody specially recorded someone saying "shut up" to me, and I really appreciate that. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. And ironically, also, you did not shut up.
I did not, and I now I'm doubling down on my "shut up, Nadias."
Also, want to mention there is a contest in the works. We mentioned this last week. Sponsored by Preferred Till New Ops on Reddit. Also, Gildivar Sakic. Sponsoring a 1 billion credit Ops Boss Kill bounty.
Yes.
It's going to be for Duxon. We still don't have details to tell you much about it yet, but stay tuned.
Yes, we keep saying, any minute now, and when we think it's going to be any minute now, we've now started to see a lot of the ops teams getting into Duxon on our side. We're wanting to get a broad swath of the community into Duxon, killing bosses, and before we launch things. We're on the cusp of that, I believe. So maybe next week, keep an eye out. I think our podcast next week is going to be on Tuesday because I've got more work travel. It's fun times. But keep an eye out, and as quickly as we can, as quickly as we see that critical mass of guilds out there doing Duxon, getting bosses killed, then Sakic is ready to go. He's ready to sponsor this, and it's going to be a big one. So be ready for it. Tonight, let's talk about story. Lead us in,
Yeah.
Jacaro. Thank you, Jacaro. Jacaro, of course, is back as part of the story. We're about to do a little bit of spoiler talk, just to be clear. We put this off a few weeks. We wanted people to get some time, but now we want to talk about the story. There's some specific things as part of the story that I really, really want to talk about, and there's some fun parts. I tried to take a bunch of notes. Seema tried to take some notes, so hopefully we'll get into a lot of our general the general thoughts.
No, one note.
One note in one note. We'll talk a little bit about the characters. We'll talk about our impression of the story overall, and specifically the part that I think is most fun is what we think is going to happen next, because this is the start of a new story arc. It is not the end. Every window is a doorway. Every something is not in the beginning, but an ending. I don't know. There's something in there. Some quote that I don't remember. But we'll talk about that. So you've been warned. Spoiler incoming. It won't we're not going to spoil everything because I'm not going to remember everything. And somebody asked, are we going to spoil like the SWTOR lines? I didn't do any of the SWTOR choices on the characters that I've run through the story so far. So probably not going to spoil that, but we're going to talk about everything. So there you go. You've been warned. So just to kick it off, as we usually do with this kind of thing, I will ask you, Seema, now that we've done the story and you've done it on Imperial and Republic, what would you say just in general is your general impression of how the story feels, how, what your general impressions are, a little bit compared to previous stories in SWTOR? Where are you at?
I think for me, my first initial comment is that the Republic side story flowed better for me. That might be a personal preference though, because I prefer to be the hero versus, the person who's rescuing or who's prevailing rather than the person who's imperializing or conquering.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting because I like the Imperial story significantly better. Yeah, so I guess we'll talk about that. So you like the Republic side of the story. Did you do? I mean, I'm sure you noticed. Which one did you do first?
I did the Imperial one first, so I did them, which turns out to be a better order.
Right.
Works.
Which
Yeah.
I kind of
that was
felt
by chance.
Anyone out there, I'd be interested to hear if you did the Republic side first and then went and did the Imperial side. Did it feel disjointed? Because maybe it didn't, but the Republic, Onderon in particular, Onderon on the Republic side is overlaps and the Imperial story and comes sort of like after 2/3 of the Imperial story is done. Maybe you don't really feel it or notice it on, when you're playing through just from the Republic perspective, but the things that are happening are because the Imperial's been on there and doing stuff. I thought that was interesting. So I did Imperial first, and then I did Republic, and it almost felt like a sequel, and it was the things that were happening after the Imperial story on Onderon.
It kind of bugged me that that it was presented like instead of two sides of the same story, it was like alternate timelines.
It was alternate timelines, and I think I made a note I wanted to talk about. There are a couple choices that happen that could potentially slightly be choices that matter. There's certainly some choices that matter towards the end, like, do you want to join back up with the Empire? Do you want to join back up with the Republic? No, I want to keep my alliance separate. Or, yes, I'm going to join back up. That seems like a choice that matters and now is diverging the universe again.
They're really leaning into that. They're not trying to mend it.
But you're right. I played through, and I wasn't a saboteur, so I played through the Imperial story, and I played through the Republic story, and in the Imperial story, all the Republic ships blow up. And in the Republic story, all the Republic ships do not blow up.
Right.
It's
and
completely
Jakaro
different.
helps both sides, but it's like a different Jakaro apparently, like a Jakaro from a different universe.
Your alliance is a player in both of the stories. Hylo Viz is around, Galt is around, Jakaro is around, Lana and Theron. They're around and they're helping you. If you play it either side, it's all that cast of characters is still the alliance characters helping you get your job done, whether that's blowing up the Republic ships or saving the Republic ships. So yeah, right. That seemed a little weird as well. Well, maybe not Theron. Again, especially not if you killed Theron or whatever. Theron's not there. They did have some bugs when they first released it, where even if Theron wasn't supposed to be there for you, he was showing up, and that was looking a little crazy for some people. Supposedly, some of that stuff is fixed. So let's break it down. I've got a list of who I caught. I made a note of who some of the characters were on both sides of the story, in addition to the ones that we've named so far. So I caught six Sith Lords on the Council. So when you start the Imperial story, both of them start in some random space battle. I sort of glossed over that, and now I was thinking back today when I was reviewing and I was looking at a couple videos out there. I think Anvil Gaming did a really nice video. Maybe I'll flip to their YouTube channel here in a second. We start each of this. The story starts that we're just in a random space battle. I think it's just like a random skirmish out there after Dantooine. They didn't really say why we were out there shooting people in space and being
And
space jockeys and fighter
even though we're
pilots.
in yeah, even though we're in a group of fighter pilots, I'm the one who
Right.
does the fancy shooting, which is hilarious if you ever saw me play GSF.
Right. So that was a little weird. And then in the middle of that, you get a call. You get a call from Malgus or you get a call from General Daroon. And they say, hey, something big is happening. You got to come catch up with us. On the Imperial side, you got to come you got to come catch up with the Imperial Council. And there's a fun quote I pulled off to the side where you tell Malgus, are you sure? Because the last time I met with the Dark Council, I killed one of them. So to be clear, you sure you want me in that room? So I thought that there's a bunch of those little drop-ins and references across the story, which I thought were good. There's some snide
That is
comments.
cool.
There's some gruff comments, and there's a lot of like sarcastic and fun, interesting side comments too. I gotta remember more of them, but I'm liking that. But then we get in there, and in my universe, Asina is the Emperor. Krovos, Savik, Anathel, Vauron, and Zarian were the council members that I pulled out of the story. Savik is important. Asina is important. Krovos has a big speaking part because she's running the fleet. Vauron could be the emperor for you if Asina's not. But the Anathel and Zarian, they
Yeah.
like don't even talk. They just like nod their heads, and I don't even know what their deal is or who they are. Maybe other people do, but they seem I didn't recognize them. Pretty soon in the story, then we also get to meet again Henri. She's back. I was pretty happy about that. What did you think of that?
I love Henri. I think Henri is a really good character. I was gonna say one of the best characters they've come up with, but she's a really good character.
She's in both stories. She's on your side and helping you out. You meet her in the very beginning when Malgus is telling you the deal, and you got to go to Onderon, you got to do your thing. She walks up and you say, "Oh, hey, are you coming to Onderon?" She says, "No, I got to go to Mek-Sha," and that's a sort of a foreshadowing that you're going to end up in Mek-Sha as well. So she doesn't meet you and help you out until Mek-Sha, but then she's there on Mek-Sha and she's part of the Mek-Sha story. On the Republic side, you do run into Henri, and in fact, on the Republic side, you capture Henri and take her down at the end. I think ultimately I meant to look in my mail, I think she escapes after the fact, and you find that out via email.
Yeah, she escapes.
as we do. But she has a good little scene in the Republic side even, which I liked. So it's sort of broken up into 4 parts, the story. There's stuff that happens on Onderon, or maybe 5. There's the prelude, the lead-in. There's which is a bunch of cutscenes, and you can play that cutscene. You don't even do anything, and you get 1 million experience points and almost a whole level just by watching that first cutscene. Then you go to Onderon. There's the Onderon part and the Onderon story. And then you go to Mek-Sha. There's the Mek-Sha part and the Mek-Sha story. Then you go to Corellia and you do the Flashpoint solo mode. That's part 4. Then, if you say Prelude, Onderon, Mek-Sha, Corellia, and then there's the postlude, the epilogue.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Postlude, that is now a word.
Yeah, that is a word.
You do the epilogue, and very interesting things happen in the epilogue. I definitely want to talk about that before we're done. But let's talk about Onderon. So Onderon, two sides of the story, as you said, and two different outcomes depending on how you play it, and two different timelines. I feel they overlap a little bit, but the Imperial stuff, you get on the planet and you start the sabotage. You're working with King Petrif, who's an idiot on the Imperial side, and uh, and helping create enough chaos that you can basically get control of the planetary cannons, because you want to use the planetary cannons to knock the Republic ships out of orbit. That's your whole job. That's sort of the main reason you were there. So you don't really care about Petrif. You don't care what happens to him. You're just using him as a pawn to arrange things so that you can get control of these planetary cannons and do what you want to do. So that was kind of interesting. What did you think of Petrif and the whole Onderon Imperial side of things?
Yeah, he just seemed like someone who was in the way
And
of, you know, I like the sort of interaction. I like sort of Savik's take on it, where she was sort of coddling him, but then when she would turn away from him, she would get this look on her face like, oh my God.
yeah, roll her eyes.
Yeah.
And did you do the conversation? One of the conversation choices every time you get to talk to Petrif is to mock him. It just says mock him in brackets. On one of my playthroughs, I picked that one every time, and it's pretty hilarious. So you make some sort of thinly veiled mocking remark, and he takes it. He takes it for the literal words as like a compliment. Like when he says, you all my citizens will cheer your name in the future, and your mocking reply is, no, I think it's going to be you that they yell all about for quite some time to come. And he's like, well, yes, of course they will. And he's oblivious to your mocking tone. So I thought that was clever that they put that in. You do get the choice at the end on the Imperial side to punch him in the face too.
Good choice.
So one of the playthroughs I saw, the video that I was watching, did have the punch him in the face outcome. So I got to see that, and he gets all flustered, of course.
Of course, on the pub side, he gets, captured and sent to jail, so that's better.
Right, and on the pub side, instead, you get to work with the senator, and her name is Nebet. Nebet is kind of cool. I liked her. I thought she was a better... Well, I thought she was... I mean, Petrif is supposed to be an idiot and supposed to be not likable. And I think written well from that perspective, because he did. He was quite the blowhard. I like when he's like, where's my blaster pistol? I keep losing that thing. I'm going to shoot them all. Whatever. Your king has returned from glorious battle. Wearing his little battle helmet like an idiot.
Right, his little battle helmet.
A lot of eye roll moments. Nebet, she's a much more noble, senator, much more likable on purpose. And you have, on the Republic side, you're working with her from her side, because Petrif goes off to the hunting lodge. So you're in two different places on Onderon. You're at the hunting lodge, where Petrif went off and sort of staked out, where he was gonna, he needed to get out of there, and that's where he was gonna rally his forces, and he was gonna take over. He was gonna basically perform a coup. And Iziz is the main city. That's where the Republic story is based. So your base of operations is the hunting lodge if you're on the Imperial side. Your base of operation is Iziz if you're on the Republic side. So that was a nice little split, and a clever way to do it. But yeah, I like her better. I liked on Onderon, I guess I like both of the stories equally. I thought it made more sense playing the Imperial side first, So
Yeah.
the other main player then, when you're playing the Imperial side, is Darth Savik. So Darth Savik is teamed up with you on the Imperial side, and you fight against her on the Republic side. Darth Savik's deal is she controls and runs the droids. She runs a droid army. So she was in the game before. She had some sort of story. She
Right.
and it didn't turn out well for her, and that's now why she works from the shadows and does everything through the droids.
Yeah, apparently I inspired her to do that.
You as in one of your incarnations.
Right.
Well, because
Right.
I think in the Republic side, she hates you because you defeated her in the past. And again, I forgot all the details, but she's resentful and of you because you did that to her and forced her into this role of working from the shadows, and that's why she thinks she can defeat you, because she does work from the shadows now and knows what she's doing, and has all the best droids, and that's how she wields her power. When you fight her on the Republic side, you mostly fight her droids. You end up fighting her directly at the end. How did you like her little hologram head on the droid body? what did you
I
think of
thought
that?
it was, I liked it. I thought it was fantastic because it was just off-putting enough. I mean, as it would be if you saw that
Yeah,
in real life, and and the head like didn't completely, it wasn't seamless, and it didn't move completely perfectly. I thought it was a great
yeah. I'm trying to
effect.
find a picture of it here. It's great, and yeah, you're right. Disturbing. Her walking around with the hologram head. Oh, here's
And I love when Darth Malgus says to her, "And Savik, next time I summon you, come in person."
yeah, yeah. That was a good quote. There's her hologram head.
Which is kind of ironic because he summoned her to a hologram call, which is already not in person, but he's like, "Don't send your robot
Yeah,
self to the holo terminals. Get your own ass there, man."
yeah. That was kind of like
She's like,
she
"Okay."
sent a hologram to a holocall. How does that work?
Yeah, right.
Does that even work? I don't know.
Apparently it does.
This just reminded me of a great scene before I forget about it. This scene that I'm showing right here is when you confront on the Republic side. You confront her in the throne room, I think, or in one of the points in the city. She sets this this is the hunting lodge. She sets like a bomb to blow up, and you have to fight her and a couple of her droids again, and then you need to escape. And this is where Jakaro and C2N2 are helping you at this point. After you escape out the side, uh, you you need to try to disarm the bomb. You can't. They say you got to escape. You get out the side patio. The dialogue with C2N2 says, where's now how do we get out of here? And he says, well, off the balcony, of course. And then he says, if only someone had installed remote piloting to our ship. Oh, I did.
Yeah.
I did. And then your dialogue choice back to him. Let's see what they pick here. Your dialogue choice back is to Jakaro. Oh, we're never gonna hear the end of this, are we? And Jakaro says, "No, probably better to just stay here and die." So I thought that was relatively hilarious. That was a good comment there by Jakaro. So anything else on sort of the Onderon side? Because you know what comes next
Well,
that I really like.
I know this isn't a
Oh,
thing about the story, but it kind of breaks my brain a little bit, the whole thing with the hologram head sitting on the droid, because like if she heard something behind her, she would turn around and look at it with her hologram head.
true.
That wouldn't work, would it?
No, it wouldn't. And there's no eyeballs there. And if the droids can already see, and she sees like you're right. That's weird. I sort of skipped over on the Republic side, especially. So on the Imperial side, it's you there. You're mostly doing all of this with Savick, and you're dealing with the king, King Petrif, and he's an idiot, and blah blah blah. On the Republic side, it's a little bit more important, the startup and that first part of what's going on Onderon, because in the prologue on the Republic side, you meet Arn, right? And
Right.
he's kind of a big deal in this expansion. You meet Arn, you get Tau comes back. Arn is Tau's new Padawan. I like the development of Tau. I like Tau coming back. I think she's a good character. I think that ended up working well. Arn, I think, is fine and interesting and a good spin, and they wanted to pull some, have this younger developing Jedi as part of the story. I think he's a little bit whiny, but for some reason, all young Jedi in the Star Wars universe seem to be whiny. And I don't know why are all Padawans that way?
Thanks for trusting me.
Shut up, Nadia. Shut up, Arn. I don't know if I can still be a good Jedi. Whatever. Okay, go talk to Tau.
Well, Tao says the exact same kind of stuff.
She was conflicted. I like the conflict. True, but she didn't whine about it.
Yeah, I mean,
She
I
was
don't know,
she
he
was
didn't
more
seem
like
whiny to
dark
me,
and
but
conflicted about it. She's like,
and
I might
he
be
is
done.
more
This is
he
messed
is
up.
more light
I might
and
be done.
ironic about it. Like he says things like, "So we're afraid of the head of logistics."
Yeah, and when we get to the Max Shaw part, he has a good little side plot there too. I thought it was,
But he got off to a rocky start because he did that whole little expository thing in the beginning where nobody asked him, but he just told us his life story anyway. Like
right.
it was, if you contrast that to how you find out about Tau, Eder, and Henri in the Osa storyline, which was really fun, and you got it in a few sentences at a time as you did the questing, and then Arn comes along and says, just stands there and just says the whole thing out in one piece of dialogue.
Right. You walk up to him, and this is all in the prologue cutscene. You walk up to him, you say, "Hey, are you Tau's new Padawan?" And he says, "Yes." And hey, I know you're going to ask it because I'm all filled with the cybernetics. Let me tell you the whole story about how I got all these cybernetics. I was in a thing and they didn't have any back tanks and Kolto, so they had to zoom in. And now I don't know if I can be a good Jedi enough because now I'm all this cyber stuff.
Because I have rubber eyeball, yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're right. That was a little jarring, and it was a little more.
But I like his personality. He came
telling
through for
rather
me
than showing.
in the end.
Right.
Yeah.
We still don't
I mean,
know a lot of, we don't still learn his personality very much or any of that. So laying out the backstory a little bit, it wasn't the worst way it could have been done. but
I mean, on the other hand, too, this is another thing I thought of, because I played through the story on the imp side, and I played through the story on the pub side, and then I used your method of leveling a couple of other characters to 75, which is Super Space Bar.
Yes.
That really brought home to me just how much cinematic stuff with dialogue and voice acting there is here.
Yes.
There's a lot.
There's a
And
ton.
if they got to I can imagine if they got to a point near the end and they thought, you know what, this guy's story isn't really coming through. We need to fix that. And I don't know. They gave us a lot of dialogue this time around, and maybe that was the best they could do. With whatever resources, not resources,
right. But no, you're right. They couldn't have done the long introduction to Arn like they did with Tau.
Right.
And it would have really sort of dragged on.
I know, Zen. I knew you were not going to like that. That's why I said it was Max's idea.
After you've already gone through it, I didn't say spacebar the first time. I didn't spacebar the first time.
I know. I can't wait to finish on my Jedi Knight though, because I hear there's bonus stuff at the end for the Jedi Knight.
So you go through, you do a little bit of different stuff on each side. Oh, we didn't talk about the Untamed. I thought the Untamed were much more interesting on the Imperial side. On the Imperial side, you go and you meet the king, the Untamed king. What's his name? Akoru. You go meet Akoru. He challenges you, and you fight one of his beasts, and then he's the king, and you convince him to fight alongside you and fight against sort of the nobles. They feel like they're the true rulers of the planet. Yada yada yada. On the Imperial side, they're a significant part of the story. You get a little bit of a feeling of who they are. They're fighting with you. On the Republic side, that's already all happened. Again, so when you come in, that part of the story has already all happened. Your introduction to Akoru and the Untamed is Akoru laying dead in the throne room in Izes after that assault where you convinced Akoru to come join you.
Right. I mean, I was okay with that because to me that made sense in the story, and it's a mystery. We still don't know on the pub side how the Untamed even got recruited in the first place.
We don't, but then but you do go talk to the Untamed on the Republic side, but it's a sort of throwaway.
You don't really find.
Yeah.
Yes, it isn't really part of the pub story.
Right. You go there. You light a couple pyres. They don't even make you fight anything. There's that big.
Well, no, I mean
it's
because it's. I mean, it doesn't have to be the exact same on both sides.
No, but true. The Untamed just seemed like they could have been more, and potentially
like if you only
a bigger
played
part of the galaxy in general going forward.
Right.
But they're not.
If you only played the pub side, then you wouldn't know very much about the Untamed.
Right.
It just doesn't figure very big in the Republic side of the story.
Yeah. So let's see. I think there's a picture here. No, I guess I skipped past it in one of these videos of the one dude that you talked to just for a couple minutes in the Untamed, and he says, "Fine, basically he just says, "Fine, I'll tell you where Savik is." That's it, and then you go fight Savik. So then we're done with Onderon, and then where do we get to go, Seema? What's the best planet? In fact, let's go there right now here in the game.
Could you be referring to Meksha, Max?
I am. You're right. You think it's the best planet too? I knew you would. It is the best.
I do like
I'm going there right now. I am recalling, and I will meet you at the harbor, which is right outside the cantina, and we'll go inside the cantina and we'll have a drink as well. Because remember, you can go in the cantina and there's free drinks.
Yes, I was gonna say drinks are on Max. Oh wait,
Slugfall Cantina. Meet you there. Max Shaw. I need a stronghold here. So then we get to go to Meksha. Meksha, I was a little disappointed that the story's kind of the same. Pretty close. There's a couple differences, but it's pretty close to the same on both sides. There's a few factions. So there's Hutbreaker, right? There's the Brothers. There's Junker Jot. Then there's Veek the Sneak and Indigo, the ex-Mando Darmanda gang leader. You talk to Hutbreaker on both sides, and then you need to get the votes on both sides to get done what you need to get done. Either refuel the Republic ships or blow up the Republic ships. Same thing, and depending on which side you do it on, different things happen. It's not the same. If you're playing on the Republic side, Junker Jot is sort of on your side from the start. He's the one who's sort of like talking to you and giving you part of the lead in, and then kicks off the story for you. If you're on the other side, it's not the Brothers. The Brothers are where you stage out of, and you get their vote automatically, whereas the Republic side gets Junker Jot's vote, and you don't get it on the Imperial side. It all ends up being you need one more vote between Veek or Indigo regardless of where you start. So it's Brothers based on the Imperial side. It's Junker Jot based on the Republic side. Brothers, nobody likes the Brothers. In fact, on the Republic side, they won't even talk to you. So they're the slavers. I think they're well written and I think they're interesting. They are this idea of slavery, how they create their slavery, not how they run their slaving empire, as almost sort of like a religion.
Yeah.
And they have these principles of how giving people purpose and creating, and purpose through labor is the rightness of what they're trying to achieve. And they have these principles and they're executing against their principles, and that's the way they're moving forward. I thought it was clever. And if you go around the Brothers area on the Imperial side, there's a data pad. I think I may have mentioned this last week on the podcast when we were talking about dailies. There's a data pad, multiple places laying on the ground. You can get the same mission from that data pad. And that data pad basically has you go through and do like 3 rounds of manual labor. And it's a data pad from the Brothers. It's basically indoctrinating you and training you to be a better slave. they like have you pick up garbage and they have you shovel dirt, and then they like talk to you about the value of labor as you do the tasks. So I don't do that. I did it once and then I realized the scam that they were trying to turn me into a slave, and now I refuse to do it anymore. You don't get that much reward out of it anyway either. But I thought it was. I wished it was a little bit more different between Veek and Indigo on both sides.
Yeah.
The main part of the story is you go to Hutbreaker's compound. You've got either your Jot vote or your brother's vote, and you have to get one more vote from either Veek or Indigo. And then when you go talk to them, they're exactly the same on both sides.
I mean, I had to pick Veek on both sides.
I had to pick Veek on both sides too, because okay, spoiler. So because the other option is you need to kill Veek. Indigo's task for you is assassinate. Go shoot this Rhodian who hasn't done you any harm. Go shoot him in the face. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
I mean, Rhodian mayo sandwiches are delicious, and
but they're not made from Rhodians.
He's either going to be made into one at some point, or is going to make me one at some point. So why would I just go shoot him? Because I'm not Darkside. I didn't. Yeah, I agree. I didn't shoot Veek in either one either. I kind of want to go run a Darkside character just so that I can see the story, because I thought that was a little bit of a loss. I wanted more Indigo. I wanted more Darmanda. I wanted to deal with get a little bit more of their backstory and hang out with them a little bit. And I sort of couldn't, because on both of them, I had to like listen to what he wanted me to do and then say no. So here, Seema, you can come in here. I'll buy you a drink at the canteen over here.
I do still have a little lag here on Meksha.
Really?
Yeah. Not the kind of lag where like the game stops or anything, but it's that wavy kind of lag where you move your mouse and it's just a fraction of a second behind. Like you're walking through putting.
I have not noticed that on Meksha. Maybe it's relatively graphically intensive with all the neon lights and the animated signs and all of that kind of stuff on the outside. Might be stressing. I have a relatively high-end card that's interesting, so it might be stressing graphics just a little bit. I'm glad they pushed it as far as they did then.
Mid-range card, yeah.
So Zen mentions that's a good catch, Zen. If you have Shay Vizsla out as a Mando, as a companion, when you go talk to Indigo, she has comments for you from the Mandalorian perspective, because they're ex-Mandalorians.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So
Now I want to go back and do it with Shay. Well, but you normally have the story companion out.
not when
So
you
you'd
get
have
here.
to
When you get
you'd have to watch for the times when you can bring your own companion out. There
right,
are times in between.
right, right. Most of Onderon, you have the story companions.
Right.
And when you get to Mek Shah, the story companion time is pretty much done because Jakaro has joined you by that point and is in your companion list. Jakaro and C2N2.
Right.
The one other character that I wanted to mention on the Imperial side, especially, was Darth Shar. Let me find a picture of Darth Shar. So Darth Shar is another Darth. She's not a council member, but I really liked her as a character. Here she is. She calls you darling all the time. Darth Shar.
Like Darth Hexid does.
A little bit, but even a little more creepy HR violation style.
Oh,
Because
gotcha.
at one point you get a conversation choice to say, no, and stop calling me darling. Yeah, I'm not your darling. And she goes, well, not yet. That's her reply. Yeah, here she is. I thought she was. I liked the art. I thought she was drawn well. I liked her personality. I thought she was a good addition. And there's Valron. I don't know why he was hanging around. He tells you. This is where he's telling you to go to Mek Shah if, because he's teamed up, but he sends you there with Darth Shar. So she's the logistics officer, right? She's the head of logistics. So she's got that
Yeah.
backstory about why she's just as evil as and ruthless and bad as anyone else, even though she's just logistics. And then the other thing, almost forgot this. The other thing that happens at the beginning of Mek Shah is the mysterious assailant.
Yes.
So what did you think when you first ran into the mysterious assailant?
I thought it took me a second to understand what he had done, which was rip. I mean, he wasn't able to kill me, but then in order to escape, he rips the air unit of some sort off the wall and escapes in the mist.
Right. He does like a smoke bomb ninja escape move.
Yes, right, exactly. I was mildly curious about who it might be, but I was more into just doing the next step of the story, right? So it's sort of like it came in from the side and it left, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that was, and then I went on.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, same
I mean,
thing. I mean, I got and I liked that it was a little bit of a mystery. And this is part of I got that this was a mystery. I liked the almost it almost felt uh, uh, like a detective sort of story. I had to like track down who Veek was and who Indigo was. I had to like go meet them at their headquarters, go have a drink with Indigo. This mysterious assailant comes up, and I've got like this old sort of noir detective feel from how the whole thing started with the assailant, with being able to like get some of the backstories, a couple of these characters, with trying to finagle a vote out of one of them in some way. You still end up shooting people to one person or another to get that vote. But I liked that rather than the just here's another battle and we got to go fight another battle, and then whoever wins, then you just need to win the battle and then you can go move on to the next point in the story. I like that there was a
it
little
did
bit more
feel
of a
like
mystery.
Starry Saber said it felt like there would have been more to it. I like the fight itself was pretty perfunctory.
Yes.
But we kind of find out later what it is. He wasn't trying to actually assassinate
Right.
you. He was.
All the fights on Mek Shah are kind of perfunctory. The fight with the assailant was like half of a fight, and he takes off, and it was just to sort of establish a little bit of a mystery there. I don't know what it's like to kill Veek, but I bet that's, you know, minor. Uh, to 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 Veek's task is to go save some ambassador to the Huts or whatever. It turns out to be double cross, and you have to fight the people who are there to double cross them. 3 mobs, little bit of a gunfight. You shoot them down, and it's fine. It was more about that whole, you know, you decide, track these people down, figure out how you're gonna deal with the what you need to do there, which is more the politics and the, you know, and working things out so that you can arrange what you need from the votes from the gangs to get the fuel or to sabotage the fuel. So I kind of like that. We didn't talk too much about Hutbreaker. What did you think of Hutbreaker? Because there's the fun inspiration that Charles put on Twitter when he was talking about Hutbreaker and what his inspiration was for some of what she was dealing with and doing.
So she was, I guess everyone on Meksha used to be some sort of a, if not an outright slave, then sort of an economically oppressed slave in function. And she sort of led the uprising, and she kind of runs the place now, which is it's a cool story.
Charles's inspiration for Hutbreaker and this scene where she's doing, you know, where she's doing her big speech to the gangs and saying, you know, we're powerful because we come together, and you know, that's we stand up for our rights, and you know, even though they're like criminal gangs, this, you know, that's why they come together. His inspiration for this was an old movie, a cult classic movie called The Warriors. And in the beginning of The Warriors, here's a spoiler. There's a leader of all of the gangs of New York, and the Warriors movie is hilarious because it's old school. You know, it's like late 70s, early 80s view of gangs of New York, and like the gang that called themselves the Yankees, they painted their face like New York Yankees, and they wore New York Yankees jerseys, and they carried baseball bats, and that was their weapon. And then there was the, you know, whatever else. They each had a theme, and they like dressed up in cosplay of their theme, and that was the gangs. But there's this iconic scene where the leader's trying to unite all the gangs so they can like run New York. And he's got like these catchphrases. So go watch that scene. He keeps saying, "Can you dig it?" That's what he keeps saying. He'll say like, "Because if we come together, we will rule the streets. Can you dig it?" So I liked that. I saw those connections. Just it was a much shorter scene from Hutbreaker, but I got that. I thought that was cool from Charles. I liked hearing that they I heard this from Jackie Chow. I heard this from Charles. They look to other things and like, you know, things that are memories of theirs from other media and use those as inspiration in some of their work as well. I think that's pretty cool, and you can definitely see that in some writing. You can pick up on it, and sometimes you don't catch where it is or what it's from, and it's interesting to hear about it. Like Duxon is obviously inspired by Jurassic Park, so there's a whole deal with that when we get to reviewing that in more detail that I think was really fun. All right, so that's Meksha. Cool things happen there. Let's talk about the epilogue. So the mysterious assailant turns out to be Scourge, and Scourge and Kira are hooked up. Not that way. They're connected. Yeah. They're teamed up. Your headcanon, you can do whatever you want with them. And they
grudgingly admire each other. They've come to admire each other.
Yeah, they're pals. They're buds. And whether you're Imperial or Republic or light side or dark side, they're bound to you in a specific way because they were each connected, and in each of their backstories, they had a deep metaphysical and force connection to the Emperor, just as you did. Valkorion lived in your head. Valkorion possessed Kira. Valkorion was
used
used and
Scourge as a
modified
tool. Yeah.
and brought Scourge forward way back from the KOTOR 2 days, from the Revan times. So with that, you all get a little bit of immunity to, in theory, what they then reveal to you is the final terrible weapon of Valkorion, which is some sort of force plague that gets unleashed. I thought it was clever and cool that Scourge and Kara were bringing this story in, and now it's obvious that this is going to be the main part of the story moving forward. I'm only so on how that story sounds so far, though.
It kind of reminds me, or it very much reminds me of the sage.
Yeah, the Consular Sage.
Yeah, the
quest story.
consular story. Yeah, thank you. The consular.
You're right.
Quest, yeah.
It sounds like that so far, which, and same way, that's sort of what I thought of, and I was like, didn't we do this already? And supposedly Satil Shan isn't she infected by this plague?
Yeah, she is. Actually, Forts just said in the chat room, this is a great idea. He'd love a novel of Scourge and Kira to fill in with their timeline.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That would be a rollicking good story, I bet.
And then they bounce around, because it's been years that they've obviously been doing their thing, and they allude to yeah.
So the reason that Scourge attacks you is they don't know for sure that Valkorion isn't still inside you.
Right.
So somehow attacking you proved to them that he wasn't.
Right.
Because right. What? I guess they would have sensed him or something if.
Right. So
if I try to hit you with my lightsaber, I can sense your insides better than if I don't.
No, well, the story was the force power of Valkorion would have been revealed, through a,
right,
through enough of an
I would have been able to
like you would have I would have killed you if I went full force. Scourge was pretty much saying, and because I beat you down enough, you would have would have done a Valkorion force trick to save your life, and you didn't. I think he's saying you would have used his power, and then we would have noticed.
To save me.
Yeah, to save ourselves.
Although to me, he's shown in the past that he doesn't do that. Instead he uses it as an opportunity to try to negotiate with you.
Right. And I said no every time he tried to let me use his power. So
yeah.
So Scourge could have been wrong.
But Scourge and Kira both were convinced that Valkorion's not there anymore, which we know that to be true because,
and he's
it's our brains.
That's fine. So it's interesting, and that's part of what's going to come next.
Yeah, it's part of it, but there's another part.
I forgot. We also skipped over the Corellia flashpoints. Maybe we'll skip that for now because we can talk about that in detail. There's some cool things that happen in there. There's the Tau fight and the Malgus fight, depending on which side you're on. You're with Malgus as a companion, fighting Tau and Arn if you're fighting on the Imperial side, and if you're fighting on the Republic side, you're fighting against Malgus. With Tau.
Tau.
And Arn? Yeah, with Tau and Arn. Both of them as companions. At the end of that...
Yeah, you do get both of them, yeah.
Yeah. At the end of that, Tau and Malgus, no matter which side you're playing on, Tau and Malgus, one or the other of them smash the platform that they're on, and they fall down a deep pit, because that's what happens in Star Wars. The epilogue of the Imperial story of the Malgus scene was the part that I thought was the most awesome of the whole expansion.
Yeah, I agree.
I was giddy when I saw that. So what you end up seeing is it cuts to after you talk to Kira and Scourge, it cuts to a scene of a beat up Malgus. He was like recovered from the crash wreckage. He's strapped to a medical gurney, and there's a doctor and a medical droid talking about his treatment, And the medical droid, the medical droid says, what should we do next? The doctor says, make sure you verify the functioning of the fail-safe device. So obviously there's some sort of fail-safe device. And now we're learning what Asina's hold over Scourge was. It was some very intricate, force-wrapped-up bomb device where if Scourge didn't do what she said, she would kill him. And the droid says, oh yeah, the failsafe device. I got it right here. It was yeah. We're gonna have to replace that because it's non-functional. And the doctor freaks out and he says, "What do you mean? You took out the failsafe device? That's that's the wrong move.
Nothing bad could happen.
What the hell are you thinking?" And she says, "Yeah, it was really weird because it was the only part that wasn't destroyed or damaged from the actual crushing damage on Malgus. It was cut. It was severed by some sort of cutting device." And he goes, "Oh no, I've got a bad feeling about this." And that's when Malgus gets up off the table, and whips out his lightsaber and says, "Give me that droid, the medical droid, and give me a ship." And so Malgus is now unleashed and unchained, and that's what I.
Hello, Galaxy. I'm home.
So you don't see that in the Republic story, but now we've got the whole Valkorian's last weapon. We've got the fight between the Empire and the Republic, and now we've got Malgus. And Malgus can be sort of now this fourth faction, because there's the Scourge Kira.
He's definitely his own force.
Right. I'm really excited and interested to see where that goes.
And I was really happy to see that too, because one of the things I said that I was looking forward to from this story is to find out why Malgus was afraid of Asina.
Right. And now we know why.
Because he had a bomb inside him, and she probably had the button somewhere.
She had a button somewhere. So last couple minutes, Seema, what do you speculate then, and in terms of? Well, let's just do that. Just that part right there. What do you speculate is? I think it's relatively obvious what's going to be the whole Valkorian plague thing. There's some interesting components of it. They said that their minds are melding together. It's going to summon some. We don't know what's going to happen with that. We're going to have to find some cure, fight some things, and solve that puzzle. What about Valkorian, though? I think that's much more of a... not Valkorian, Malgus. I think that's much more of a mystery. And I just had a prediction in my head that I hope comes true. What about you? What do you think's going to happen with Malgus?
No. I want to hear your prediction. Let's have it.
My prediction, it's out there. My prediction is Malgus ends up Emperor. Malgus takes over the Empire. Finally takes over the Empire. Whether it's Vowron, and this is a way to sort of get that whole Schrodinger's Emperor problem, because it's either Asina or Vowron. Malgus ends up Emperor. He kills whoever it is. He takes over the Empire, and now we get the Malgus Empire. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Just in terms of long-term lore that then they could play with. Then you could have the age of the Malgus Empire and what that does to the Empire. And he's still somebody to fight against. He's still somebody to potentially fight with. I think he's my favorite. He's the only sort of Imperial character that, even as sort of the light side Imperial, in a lot of ways, I've been willing and interested and able to partner with. Because he's got progressive ideas, and yes, he's still an evil Sith. He kills people all the time. There's that. But,
but if something is dumb, he can see that it's dumb instead of just reacting from his own search for power.
Right. So, interesting stuff. Do you think he's going to be Emperor? Or what's your final wrap up on that?
Well, so I'm going to say that I know we're talking about Malgus, not the plague, but what's Satele Shan and all these Jedi that have the plague right now, they're going to sort of meld into this big ball of Jedi but it's not Jedi anymore. It's an evil thing now, and somebody's gonna have to kill it, and it will be Darth Malgus that does it.
Hmm. Okay, that's a good spin too. I kind of like that. And
Or
then he becomes
maybe,
emperor.
well, I mean, he can be emperor in my story too. He can already be emperor. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And maybe even on the Republic side, you have to like partner with him somehow. Maybe like
Yeah,
Tau,
like he's like in a way he's like the savior of the galaxy. He turns out to be not only the emperor but the savior of the galaxy.
or like him because they've brought Tau back. Maybe like him and Tau have to like jointly go do this
Yes, they
thing.
begrudgingly have to do something together,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Scourge and Kira.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. Well, we didn't do it exhaustively. We skipped over the Corellia Flashpoint, which has got its own sort of fun parts and a couple fun characters, like the other Theron Cedrax, which I thought was kind of
The
funny.
other Thera, who spells it wrong.
Right. Or he spells it right. He thinks the other one spells it wrong.
Right, of course.
Right.
Of course he does.
So there's lots of other sort of tips and twists and turns and fun little throwaway lines and jokes scattered throughout the story. Send us your favorites. Maybe we'll bring it up in the future. I think it'll be fun to go through the Corellia Flashpoint both as a flashpoint and its story and talk about the fights. And then I'm sure we're going to end up doing the same thing for Duxon, which is sort of outside of this main story, but it's got its own story, which is really fun.
It does.
But I'm glad we got a chance to go through the story and actually get some talking done about it. And
Yes.
Malgus is back. I like it. And he's unleashed. He's unchained. So with Malgus unchained, roaming the galaxy, we are also wrapped up and ready to send a astromech out to roam the galaxy to broadcast this podcast to all of you. There, I brought it all together there. So with that, EPC 316 is ready. Episode 316 is ready to go out. Please keep up with us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA. And if you know any great people that should be playing the game with us, tell them to come find us and check out the podcast and check out our guild. Our guild is aie-guild.org. That's our guild website. You can get to our guild Discord there. You can jump on our guild Discord in the SWTOR channel or in the LFO Looking for Officer channel and say, hey, I'm on Starforge. I think it would be great to come play with you guys. I'd love to do that, and we will get you in the guild. You can find our podcast on YouTube, on newoverlords.com, on twitch.tv/newoverlords. Next week we'll probably broadcast on Tuesday night because I got some more work stuff later in the week, but there we go. Tuesdays or Thursdays. That's sort of how we run this. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.